I'm John DeSando.
Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with our friends. Turn off our cell phones and get away. Night or day, it's John DeSando on the radio. We'll watch the credits from up high and low. Cinema Classics on.
Cinema Classics is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to shows Thursday at 8:01 p.m. on WCBE 90.5 FM. And listen to shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm Mary Yerina.
and this is Cinema Classics. So what do you know about New Jersey?
A little bit. My husband hails from New Jersey.
Oh.
In fact, my husband was born and raised in the same county as Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so the movie is called Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Still don't know where they got. There must be a song with that Deliver Me From Nowhere.
Or it must be in a lyric somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was hoping somebody would.
I was having a hard time actually remembering it, and I just kept referring
Isn't
to
that-
the film as Springsteen before the colon.
Isn't that so goofy? I don't know why they pick titles like that. It's so difficult for us, particularly for critics, either to remember it or to fit it into the number of words we have.
Well, clearly it didn't fit into our sign because you just wrote Bruce.
I did on our visual. All right, set it up for us, Mary.
So we find ourselves with Bruce Springsteen after he's just finished the tour for the River album in 1982.
Okay.
And he's returning to his home county, renting a home in Coltsnet, New York.
Okay.
And he really starts to develop what's supposed to be his next album, which the record producers and company want to be, full of singles and more top 10 hits.
Right.
And he goes to a very different place. And we follow him on this journey to get his album, Nebraska, produced.
Right, and this is about that serial killer, right?
It's inspiration. I mean, we find Bruce watching a lot of late night TV and not being able to sleep, and he comes across the film Badlands, starring a very young Sissy Spacek and Martin Sheen, which is inspired by the story of, I think his name was Charles Starkweather.
Right.
And the spree killings he went on in the late 1950s in Nebraska. So it's a very dark story, dark film. Bruce goes to a very dark place and actually does research and tries to write a song from the viewpoint of the spree killer, Starkweather.
Yeah, you can imagine how his producers just scratched their heads at some of this dark stuff that Springsteen did.
Well, they certainly did once he presented the completed album.
Yes.
And tried to get it produced with the E Street Band, but he just wasn't satisfied because he had created these songs in the makeshift studio on a cassette, what was supposed to be cassette demo tape, and could not quite capture the feeling that he wanted to capture as an artist that sounded like the acoustic tape he had developed.
Yeah.
And so his friend and manager, John Landau, went to great lengths to get this album produced as he wanted it. And I think as an artist, it probably represents Bruce Springsteen very well. I wish I could say that the film was about his music.
I know.
It's actually more about his reflections during that very dark period and actually going into depression, about his father's mental health struggles when he was growing up, and how he himself has never adequately dealt with that. And he himself actually starts to go into a pretty severe depression.
Wow. Yeah, you know, Mary, if one thing this film shows me is how difficult it is to be an artist, no matter what your situation. If you're going to be at the top of that food chain, you are going to go through some very difficult times. And I've heard it before, but I think this brings it home. I mean, that's the also the negative side of this film. It's really, the film is just as depressing as he is.
It is depressing. I mean, it's a well-crafted film in terms of its style. I think there's some really great merits to it about exploring the artistic process. But I found the elements of his reflection back to his childhood and other aspects of it to be very disjointed. And there are scenes where it's in black and white, where he's reflecting on the childhood home he grew up in Freehold, that just kind of show up. And then we have a reflection of him remembering that his dad took him and what I presume is his sister to visit this beautiful farmhouse out in the country.
Yes, yes.
And the kids get out of the car and run through the
Yes.
cornfields. But we have a young girl who's never identified. I mean, she just shows up. And after him having remembered that he watched Night of the Hunter, which is a really creepy film
Isn't that,
about
yes.
a killer played by Robert Mitchum, that his father took him out of school to watch that film with him.
Yes.
And you see this little girl randomly. It's really creepy and unexplained.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so there's a lot of disjointed
Well,
scenes.
Mary,
like
would you
that.
agree that the whole section, with a significant part of this film, is about his relationship, his love affair with Faye? And I'm not even sure that's real.
Surprisingly, even though this film is fairly factual,
Yes.
Bruce Springsteen and John Landau were actually
Yes.
on the set
Jeremy
several
Strong
times.
is terrific.
He is
Yeah.
terrific as
Yeah.
Landau. But Faye apparently is a composite
Yes,
of
that's
probably
what I heard.
many female friends and or lovers that he may have had during this period in his life. But she provides the truth to him when they become close. She has a daughter. She's working as a waitress in a restaurant, and he starts to develop a relationship with her and her daughter, doing things together, taking her daughter out, and then he drops off the face of the earth. And she, after he finishes the album, she tells him, you need to get over whatever it is
Yes.
that you have. And it's really, she's kind of the truth teller in all this, which may be the role that women may have played for him in his life. I don't know that. But that becomes the tipping point after he's gotten the album made, and he's now moving to California out of the blue. But his parents legitimately did move to Southern California. So it's that transition and during that time that he really hits kind of rock bottom for the first time with his depression.
Well, the film does, for me, satisfy, in a small way, an urge I always have when I see a film about an artist, is to witness the inspirations that they have. And they don't have too many of those moments. You do see him slipping into doing songs, but I don't even get the close connection between him and Charles Starkweather. You know, I just don't understand. Where does he get this? Is this
It's
schizophrenic?
actually true.
Yeah.
I did see an interview with Bruce Springsteen on CBS Sunday Morning
Okay.
a couple of years ago, and he visits the house that he rented in Colts Neck and shows the bedroom where he actually produced the album. And he talks about having seen Badlands and becoming obsessed with Charles Starkweather. My dime store psychology is that he had a father who was violent, who would go into these violent rages and depressions. He had mental health issues, as we surmise and learn as the film goes on. But I think he's trying to understand, like, what causes somebody to be so mean and so violent as a metaphor for his father.
Yeah.
Now, his father didn't become a serial killer or a spree killer, but I think that's where that obsession maybe comes from, is trying to understand the viewpoint of someone who's clearly very damaged and able to inflict such harm on other human beings.
Yeah. And the way the dad interacts with the young Springsteen gives you some idea of the turmoil within that man, Springsteen, who seems pretty cool on the outside, but things are just churning inside of him, a large part in his relationship with his dad. In one place where they're sparring, Dad forces him to spar, and he keeps using the hand that Dad tells him no, he wants the other one. And you can see that Springsteen is still his own person, and the dad
Rebelling even at age 7 or 8.
yeah, and I like that part, but the rest of it is not fleshed out enough for me, and nor does it spill into the music. There's the thing, I don't get the connect between his life and his, other than that he'll go to Asbury Park or wherever he'll ride on the merry-go-round. And
That is Asbury Park,
That
and
was-
that carousel really does exist.
Oh my goodness, great, oh yeah. So I got that, but I don't know, I think you were indicating it's fragmented.
It's very fragmented. For me, it didn't connect the dots, and I think if you're a Springsteen fan, you'll appreciate the effort, and also at age 76, Springsteen allowing this to be made and documenting a really dark part of his life, but probably a part of his life that represents who he is most as an artist. But it still doesn't make for a very enjoyable journey.
And I
with
think
him.
you hinted it at the beginning of our discussion. If you're there to listen to his music, you're not going to get that much of it.
You are not going to
No,
get that
yeah.
much of it.
And Jeremy Allen White is quite good, reminding me of the Elvis Butler.
Yes.
You know, these guys who, I mean, you might be aware.
Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, and Chalamet, these young guys who suddenly you say, boy, they're talented.
Well, and he actually had to learn how to play guitar for this.
Isn't that
and
very,
he-
that just
and
sounds.
harmonica.
I just can't believe that.
and
That
he-
is,
and when you read the credits, he actually does the singing.
Yes.
And I think playing, although they strategically don't show him playing the guitar sometimes.
yeah, oh yeah.
But he did learn how to do all these things, and in fact, Bruce Springsteen gave him one of his guitars. It wasn't the guitar that he composed Nebraska on, but it was one from that era.
Oh, how wonderful. All right, Mary Yerina, let's talk later on, that is in our podcast. Our podcast is called Double Take. You have to go to WCBE, the podcast experience. And let's talk about other musicals, bio-musicals. Right now, Mary, we're getting into the high season. You're going to see some really good movies. And what do you suggest for Springsteen? Let me read here.
See?
Let me read the title. Deliver Me from Nowhere. What do you suggest?
Sadly, I don't think this is a film that is destined for awards or to become a classic.
Yeah, he might get a nomination. He might, or Strong for me should be nominated. There's
That I would agree
Yeah,
with.
boy.
But the film overall is not going to traverse the same journey that Crazy Heart did, which was by the same director.
Same
and
Scott
writer.
Cooper. Oh, boy, there's a difference. That's an Oscar winner. But that is a large part because of Jeff Bridges.
Large part because of Jeff Bridges.
I know.
I don't know if Jeremy Allen White carries the weight
No, not.
of that Bridges did in Crazy Heart and his role as Hank
I have to
Thompson.
admit it. I'm John DeSando.
Cinema, 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 cinema. Classics, let's go to the movies and share some popcorn, soda pop with